The Braves continue their road trip in Pittsburgh this weekend, looking to maintain a little momentum they created with a series win over the Cubs at Wrigley Field already on this trip. I'm Grant McCauley. He's Chris Willis. This is Battery Power TV. We got another great episode for you today. Before we jump into it, though, I want to remind you to hit that thumbs up button, leave us a like and a comment on this video. Hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time we drop a new episode. And above all, perhaps share the show with a friend. That always helps us to grow what we got going on over here. And Chris, every season is its own journey, but we knew 2024 who knew that 2024 would be the year that the Braves would be a pitching first team again, because more than a quarter of a way through the season, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, and think they're doing it all without Spencer Strider, which I think if would look back to early when the season started, I don't think any of us would have really thought that would be the case. But I mean, this pitching staff's been lights out, bullpen's been good, and it's a good thing because it's covered up a lot of holes with offense.
It definitely has. And the offense, yeah, there is a lot of baseball left to be played. I know we keep saying that, and I guess it's early until it's not, but we haven't quite gotten to the Memorial Day weekend until right now, which is kind of the first checkpoint that I would say is when a team really does start to maybe take an inventory of what's been going on and maybe what hasn't been going on in the case of the Braves offense. And we got plenty more chapters ahead in the story. Let me put it that way. Early returns have been that the pitching staff is the strength of this team. The offense does have time to get itself back on track and be a little bit more like the group that we expected to see this season. And we'll get back to all of that later because we do need to talk first and foremost about a couple of pitchers to get things started. Max Fried got it done in his latest no-hit bid against the Chicago Cubs, which ultimately resulted in his second 9-inning complete game of the season as the Braves beat the Cubs 9-2 on Wednesday. Fried has absolutely dominated the Cubs over the course of his career. He is now 6-0 with a 1.18 ERA and 6 starts against him in his career. And his last 6 starts this season, Chris, have also garnered similar results. 1.70 ERA, 1.33 batting average against, and opponents have a 3.82 OPS against Fried over his last 6 outings. Getting Fried back to his absolute best is one of the many things the Braves needed while they were sorting out their run-scoring issues and dealing with, as you already mentioned, the loss of Spencer Strider.
Yeah, he's been amazing. The first 2 starts of the season have skewed his season numbers. I think a lot of people would be paying a little bit more attention to him now, obviously. But he was lights out against the Cubs. I even let myself wonder about there if this might be the night that we saw him like carry a no-hitter into that last inning or whatever. But he pitched really well, kept them off balance, and got some runs to work with. So it was a great victory in that it gave the bullpen some rest, because then this long stretch of games that they're in, that's really important.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And with all the offense that the Braves did get on that night, scoring 9 runs for Max Fried, it made it a little bit easier for, Brian Snitker and Max Fried to have that conversation. Hey, you good? I feel great. All right, well, go on out there and get another inning and finish this thing off. And as you mentioned, the bullpen getting that night off in a stretch in which they're not going to have another day off, a scheduled day, for a couple of weeks. That's a big thing. And it also kind of bled over into the next day when Brian Snitker was able to empty out the bullpen to finish out Atlanta's 8th shutout of the season behind AJ Smith-Shawver, who we'll get to in just a moment. Now, Fried has had some backup in this rotation in the person of fellow left-hander Chris Sale, the veteran strikeout artist, back in a big way with the Braves. Check out these first 9 starts with Atlanta. 7-1, a 2.22 ERA, 70 strikeouts, only 8 walks in 56 2/3 innings. We are talking, Chris, about the vintage version of Chris Sale here. 4th in the National League in ERA, 2nd in Major League Baseball in victories, 5th in the National League in strikeouts, lowest walks per 9 in baseball, highest strikeouts to walk ratio in baseball. Those are all the things that Chris Sale was capable of. He just had to get healthy, and it seems like he is. When we talked about his impact after the trade and the potential of what he brought to this Atlanta rotation, I think we had some guarded expectations, but now with what he's done so far, it is fair to move those goalposts in the best possible way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most underrated moves of the offseason, I think. I don't know that people really gave that much look to it. And I mean, for good reason. He'd hardly pitched, of late because of the injuries. But maybe we should have paid a little more attention when he said, he was healthy for the first time in a long time, because he's really gone out there and showed that he's not finished yet. And, he looks like he did back in his heyday, when he was right there in the mention as the best pitcher in baseball. So, Just a huge boost that he's given them. And I mean, you can sit there and look at the way this team got started offensively. Where would they be without guys like Chris Sale, Reynaldo Lopez, and all those moves? It was just another example of how good an offseason the Braves had.
And what an upside play it was for Chris Sale, too, because, again, as you get into your mid-30s, and we've seen some of the, bigger, better pitchers in baseball, even some have been incredibly durable, like a Max Scherzer. They do run into injury eventually. But Sale, it felt like his last 4 or 5 years, yes, there was a major injury or two in there, but he had come back from those and had a bunch of fluky stuff. And it felt like the Braves just kind of identified someone that really no one else was talking about going into his last year of a big deal with the Boston Red Sox. I don't think a whole bunch of people, including the Red Sox, maybe were thinking, all right, we're going to be able to unload Chris Sale in this offseason, but that's exactly what they did. And they did so for a player who will get a chance in Boston, but really had no position to play in Atlanta in Vaughn Grissom. So I would say a master stroke by Alex Anthopoulos. And if Sale continues to pitch this way over the course of 2024 and beyond, because the Braves did extend him, they could be very happy with this move for more than just a one-year fix. The rotation also received a boost from Reynaldo Lopez. His 1.54 ERA through 8 starts. He's going to get the ball against the Pirates this weekend. He's just short of qualifying for the ERA title, but if he did, it would be the third best ERA in baseball, and I don't think anybody saw that coming when he signed, no matter how optimistic you wanted to be about what he could do. Most people probably had him penciled in the bullpen. Braves starters have a 2.65 ERA over the past month, minus the 4 starts from Bryce Elder, who was optioned back to Gwinnett. It's a 1.77 ERA from Fried, Sale, Lopez, and Charlie Morton over their past 20 starts and nearly 120 innings. Chris, that is some serious starting pitching.
Without a doubt. And I mean, we can't say it enough too many times. I mean, I was one of the ones that, kind of looked at this Lopez experiment in the rotation and kind of, wondered what it would ultimately come of it. But I mean, this is a guy, it's a big guy. He's durable. I've been impressed with just how he's, how he's gone about it as a starter. I mean, he's not going out there trying to throw 101. We've seen him 94, 95 for a lot of games, but he gets in a tight spot. He can reach back and get 97 or 98. And, just been really impressed with him. A very smooth delivery, very repeatable. And he's just been a huge addition to this rotation.
Now, the Braves are obviously going to try to be careful with him. Judicious might be the right word, as he ramps back up and throws a lot of innings for the first time since really 2019, if we're breaking it all down, when he was a starter with the White Sox. Had a lot of success in the bullpen. Braves signed him to a 3-year deal with a 4th-year option at $10 million per season. If he does, in fact, transition back to the bullpen, back into rotation and stay there over the course of this contract for the Braves, I would be hard-pressed to go out there and find you another free agent pitcher for $10 million a year that's doing the kind of stuff Reynaldo Lopez is doing. But there's a lot that we have to see unfold over the course of time with that. But the early returns, again, to use that phrase, have been extremely encouraging for both of the Braves newcomers in rotation. In the finale against the Cubs, we saw the return of AJ Smith-Shawver, who was called up for a spot start on Thursday. His 4 1/3 scoreless innings were impressive to me. The big fastball was there, along with a changeup that could be a serious weapon. And there's obviously a lot to like in Smith-Shawver. His 2024 debut was more proof of that. The Braves obviously believed in him big time to bringing him up at 20 years old last year. And they'd very much like to see what kind of impact he could make, regardless of what role it's in. This is a really intriguing arm to watch here this season, Chris.
Yeah, I think of all the 5th starter options, we knew Smith-Shawver probably had the biggest, highest ceiling. And I mean, I was impressed yesterday, but just how much progress he's made year over year from last year. This changeup, as you mentioned, was really, really sharp yesterday. The curveball, I thought, was a pretty good tunneling option behind his fastball. I mean, again, I'm hoping that he kind of sticks in the rotation because I'd like to see him a couple more times. I don't know what the plan there for the 5th starter is going to be at this point, but at the same time, I think we're going to see a lot of AJ Smith-Shawver again before the season's over.
And I think Braves fans could be very excited by that prospect, both literally and figuratively there, or the play on words, as it were, because this is a guy that even at 21 years old could definitely impact the Braves' plans. How will it play out in the short term and the longer term this year? We'll find out, as the Braves are still kind of trying to patchwork the rotation together. That's thanks in part to a rainout and the demotion of Bryce Elder, which we'll talk about later. The Braves offense had some moments in that Cubs series yet to really break out, but for the combined sanity of everyone who is tuning in today, for Chris and myself. We're going to stick a pin in that discussion and just say this group is too good not to figure it out. It's when, not if, they'll get going. Worth noting, though, is one very peculiar story which has taken a while to play out, but could be resolved this weekend. And I'll underscore the could be part of that. Austin Riley's absence has been a bit of a frustrating situation for the star third baseman. Intercostal inflammation in his left side is what's kept him off the field for now what would have been a full stint on the 10-day injured list. Obviously, the Braves didn't want to put him on the shelf if they felt like he could be back in short order, maybe inside of a series or two. That didn't pan out as they expected. There was really no push to bring up another backup infielder. They had a couple of capable guys. They'd just gotten Zach Short. He's been a nice story. Riley, though, ramping up the baseball activities. Sounds like he could be back this weekend. He is now swinging the bat, and time, of course, will tell if we could see the slugging third baseman back in the number 3 spot and back at the hot corner at PNC Park.
Yeah, I don't think they thought the injury would keep him
No.
out this long initially, or he probably would have been placed on the injured list. It's been a talking point, but again, then at the end of the day, I think Luke Williams has played 3 times since he's been out, and one of those was as a pitcher. So it's not like they've been in a situation where they've run out of in position bench players or anything like that. So the new roster rules have afforded them the opportunity to kind of keep Riley there and try to get him back. But at the same time, they're clearly not going to rush him. I think he is swinging a bat, and that's good news. Hopefully we see him this weekend. I think if that doesn't happen, then I would pencil in Monday's series opener against the Nationals.
Yeah, and it's killing Austin Riley, who doesn't want to miss a game, let alone sitting around for a couple of weeks trying to figure it out. But when I caught up with him at Truist Park, he said, I'm better, but it's just one of those things that I still feel not so much pain, but it's there. He described it like a deep stretch, and just whenever he would move, he could still feel that there was something maybe catching a little bit in there, and they're not going to let him swing a bat if that was the case. And so that clearly has subsided, and Austin Riley is testing it out. But he also said, I don't want to revisit this thing. So if the training staff tells me to, get the treatment and go day to day, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that's exactly what he's been doing for a while now. Another return that could boost the Braves lineup would be Sean Murphy. Braves catcher sidelined since opening day with that strained left oblique. Murphy began his rehab assignment with Gwinnett. He has homered in each of the first 2 games he has played. Likely to be a few more games, especially behind the plate. He's only caught once and DH'd once through those first 2. Then he could get back to Atlanta. Maybe he rejoins the big league club on this upcoming homestand. But as we talked about before, Chris, being able to add not just a great catcher like Murphy, but somebody who was a big part of the offense a year ago, getting Austin Riley back in there as well, maybe these are the kind of things that could finally start to stem the tide for this Braves offense. But either way, Sean Murphy returning is something the Braves have been looking forward to for a couple months.
We'll definitely go about lengthening this lineup again, because it's gotten a little short because they've had to play the bench as much as they have. But getting Murphy back, 20 homer bat, not to even mention what he brings behind the plate. It's just another offensive weapon. It's going to be big for this lineup. Hopefully him and Riley return pretty quickly together. And hopefully that's the boost that this team needs to kind of get going.
Yeah, and it certainly could be that. And not having Murphy, they have gotten good play behind the plate, especially with Travis d'Arnaud being your secondary option. How many clubs would love to say, all right, well, our starting catcher is down, and I use that kind of in air quotes because they do a timeshare behind the plate as it were, but your workhorse went down, and you've got the best backup catcher in baseball, bar none, if you want to just call him that. The Braves have also gotten some good play from Chadwick Trump, who has made it a pretty easy transition for the Atlanta pitching staff as far as keeping everybody, I think, with that same air of comfort that they have with who's behind the plate on any given night. Brian Snitker talked about it last week, how pleased they are to have another catching option that steps up the way that Trump has with Murphy out for 2 months.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, you've heard the pitchers talk about Chadwick Trump, and I think that we all know that's the area that the Braves are most concerned with the catcher position is how they handle the pitching staff. And Trump's passed that test. His bat started to come around a little bit as well. He's had some hits on this road trip. I think he's got 6 doubles for the season. So not a terrible showing. I mean, the Braves, we already knew the catcher position was a great strength for the Braves with Murphy and d'Arnaud, but I think it even extends, beyond that now with Trump as well.
Yeah, and it's several years of having him in their system, having him in spring training, and where he has worked with a lot of these pitchers. So it's not such a foreign concept to say, hey, here's the new catcher. You guys try to get on the same page. There's a lot of communication and meetings that go on. And Chadwick Tromp has said, hey, I've learned a ton from Travis d'Arnaud and Sean Murphy and how they approach the game. And clearly he's been around to get to know this pitching staff, which all helps. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, an interesting team, I think, but a couple of the most intriguing players are not going to make an appearance this season, which is probably a relief for the Braves lineup, if we're being honest. Paul Skeens and Jared Jones already pitched, so they won't be starting against Atlanta in this 3-game series, which begins on Friday night at PNC Park. Braves will throw Reynaldo Lopez on Saturday, Chris Sale on Sunday, after having to sort things out this week for a starter on Friday, thanks to that rainout and the demotion of Bryce Elder, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, is now back in Triple-A Gwinnett, where he'll try to sort some things out. The Pirates will throw lefty Bailey Falter, then Mitch Keller and Martin Perez in this 3-game set. I'm not going to predict that the Braves offense has an absolute explosion in Pittsburgh, Chris, but I'm not going to rule it out either.
No, without a doubt. I mean, it's as much as I would like to have seen Paul Skeens, over the weekend, I'm not going to be too upset about him. The Braves missing him as well. The Pirates they're an interesting team. Their record was a lot worse than I thought it was at this point. I mean, they have played better of late. I think they just dropped 2 of 3 to the Giants, but they had just taken 3 or 4 from the Cubs before that. Still, they're under 500. It's it's another opportunity for the Braves to, get some wins, get another series win, and then get back to Atlanta.
Yeah, and you'll take a winning road trip home, and in order to get that, you're going to have to take 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh as well, at least. And we'll see what the Braves are able to do. Either way, the Paul Skeens entertainment factor, I'll look forward to watching on TV. Maybe we'll see him on a mound at Truist Park, where we can actually be there in person. That might be the more entertaining way to take in Paul Skeens, but we'll see as time wears on. But either way, our time is out here on this edition of BPTV. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right here on the Battery Power YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications. You will get an alert every time that we drop a new episode. We appreciate you as always riding along with us. For Chris Willis, I'm Grant McCauley. We will catch you next time. And until then, so long, Braves Country.